Have you guys ever heard of or read those self-help books that are supposed to help you take control of your life? I have not, but I have seen a movie called Self-Help, and it sucked.
We are here for the next 3 days to peel away the pretense.
So the movie Self-Help is directed by Eric Bloomquist, the brainiac behind Founders Day, a movie we got a couple of years ago, and the year I saw that movie, it was easily one of the worst films I saw. Had I known that walking into this movie, I might have done a U-turn at the AMC front desk, but I did not know that, so here we are. That being said, I am proud to report it is significantly better than Founders Day, as if that's saying anything. It's the equivalent of a would you rather, stepping in a pile of gum or a pile of dog shit. Lo and behold, here we are, and we're talking about the film, and it's a strange one to talk about because it's very hard to describe, being that I'm not sure I even understood most of the movie. So the movie is described as having this main character, Olivia, who stumbles upon a self-help group that is involving her mother and this kind of cultish leader. She infiltrates it, and then she's dealing with the aftermath of being involved in this self-help cult. But really how the movie plays out is it opens up in this Chuck E. Cheese atmosphere with young Olivia, and she's a kid at a party, and she stumbles away and finds her mom having an affair with this clown, and she ends up killing the clown in the middle of her mom having an affair, and it kind of gets bottled up and covered over for the next, 15, 20 years. We fast forward into the future. At which point we follow Olivia away at college, and maybe I missed a giant exposition dump or something. I don't really know why, but we just flash forward and poof, we are at a self-help group. And upon arriving at this self-help group, all of the people are wearing masks. You have this very charismatic leader called the Truth Ambassador dressed as Jesus, and it sets the tone for what this movie could possibly be. The hook of the film being you're at this self-help group, you don't know who these people are, but something is obviously cryptic and off, and you expect that you're going to experience some form of a horror film that involves a cult or her trying to escape or rescue her mother, all of that. We've seen a million cult movies before. And let me just say, this is one of the very rare times I sat and watched a movie, and I'm going to talk about it for you guys, being fully transparent. I'm not sure I even knew what the point of this film was, what it was about. For the vast majority of this movie, I was confused and I didn't understand anything going on, what the point of any of this movie was. And I do think that is the single most important question relating to this film, because as you are watching it, you will probably be intrigued by the hook of the film when you arrive at this cultish camp that they're at, and you'll be wondering as a horror film where it's going to go and what these characters mean and all the underlying purpose of it. But at the core of all of that is the question of why. Why is this movie being made? What is the point of this movie? Why are these characters acting like this? Why is all of this going on? Now, it's a very short film. It's only 90 minutes long, and I would never go as far as to say I was actually enjoying the movie, but for a while I was oddly intrigued with it. It was about the 30-minute mark. I was sitting there thinking, where are we going with this? What is the point of all of this? Then that question entered my mind of why. Why am I sitting in this movie theater on a Saturday night? Why am I watching this film? What is the point of this film? From the moment that question entered my conscience, all of my immersion towards this film was broken. I realized how pointless the film was, and I just sat there contemplating the finality of life and why I'm spending 90 minutes of my time on this earth watching this piece of shit. So yeah, that is probably the major thing. If you don't feel like that and you are actually captivated with where this story could possibly go, do I think it goes anywhere? No, that's what I'm going to get to in just a sec. Then maybe you will actually have enjoyment to this film. But for me, I was just on board with the initial hook and where it could possibly go. And upon getting any sliver of an answer to that, I was just over this film. It made the entire last hour of it be agonizing to get through. I think that is mostly because this movie at no point establishes any characters you should care about. They are not competent. They are not interesting. All of their decisions are completely unbelievable. The same issues I had with Founders Day are back in this film, where you have a bunch of characters dumb as a box of rocks. Anything your brain is probably thinking about that in the context of horror is exactly what the movie is, without spoiling it. It's very obvious when you arrive here something is off with this guy played by Jake Weber as this charismatic guy dressed as Jesus. So you kind of know where the movie's going to go, and it just doesn't go anywhere else besides that. That is the entire film. The hook of the film is as far as it goes. Doesn't really elaborate on why any of this is going on, why the characters are acting this way. Just exactly what you think the movie was going to be when you get the initial reveal at 20 minutes is all the film is, and it has nothing more deep or complex to say about it than that. The movie is marketed as a thriller horror film, I believe, and the whole movie has this very strange, corporate Microsoft Teams self-help score to it. I don't know if the director thought that was something cheeky and clever due to the fact this movie is called Self-Help, but it stuck out like a sore thumb to me, and I thought it was dumb as hell. Returning to what I said about the characters, none of the characters in this movie are interesting. They're not likable. They're not believable. As a viewer of this film, at no point in the movie is it confusing what is going on. As I said, it's very cut and dry from A to Z. And because of this, all of the character choices that characters make in this film make no sense. And it makes them come off more so as these like unsympathetic characters than people you should actually root for involved in a horror film. So when you're listening to their dialogue and you're watching grotesque imagery or self-harm or things related to that, it's not enjoyable in the slightest because it's just not an enjoyable source material type of film, and the characters are not created in a way where any of their actions or anything happening to them feels like it has any stake to it. It just feels like something that's kind of unenjoyable to watch and almost tacky in a way, which, as I already said, could be going over my head, but at the same time, I don't care enough to figure it out and get the answer to that, because the whole movie just comes off as very superficial. Like, there's really no message to this film or underlying point to why we're watching it, besides saying the most generically bland surface level commentary ever about like self-help being toxic if it's orchestrated in the wrong hands by like conmen or something. Just a textbook example of a film that is not nearly as profound as it sets out to be, in a movie that just comes off as being up its own ass. And aside from the characters being poorly written, it felt like the acting in this movie was downright atrocious. It didn't feel like anybody in this movie had acted before. Same issue I had with Founders Day, where that movie just came off very cartoonish because the acting was over the top. Really felt like the only character in this movie who had ever acted before was Jake Weber playing the egotistical cult leader. But even praising his performance as being a standout and being pretty decent, he almost came off satirically over the top, like he was on the wrong set. This guy wandered into a Shakespearean Broadway set with a bunch of amateurs who'd never recited lines before, so it almost ruined his performance. Because it makes a guy who should be this sinister leader and this captivating speaker come off as this campy dork, because nobody else can act. He's so far and away above the others that it just felt like he was on the wrong set. But when you put it all in the blender, it all just blends together to form the perfect pile of ass. And finally, I just have to point out, I found it comical that the director of this movie is also acting in the movie, and he cannot act at all. And I don't know if he wrote this film, but he definitely can't act. So the fact that he cast himself in his own movie and then acted terribly, just downright comical to me. And towards the back end of this film, there is one scene that's oddly enjoyable because it's very Halloween-ish, and you have these kids trick-or-treating, and one of the kids is dressed up as the guy from Founders Day, which again was oddly comedic, because if I was him, I would have disowned that film. I would have burned it. I would have told people that wasn't me, that was somebody copying me. I would have just done anything in my power to distance myself from that film. It was so terrible, and apparently this guy is wearing it on his chest as a badge of honor. So I gotta point that out because I found it funny that apparently this director is so into his own work, he's injecting Easter eggs of the previous works into his new terrible films. So yeah, not a lot to like about this film. There was one thing I liked about it, the fact there is a minor Halloween aesthetic towards the end. But aside from that, I could not tell you the point of this film. I don't know what the plot of the film was. I don't know why we're having this film. It's poorly acted. The score is terrible. Odd comedy injected into it that does not work. Only guy here that feels like he deserves a paycheck is Jake Weber because he's pretty decent as the speaker. Everything other than that, pure misery. To get through a 90-minute film felt like 3 hours. A wildly ineffective genre blend in self-help that all comes together to be dog shit. So if you guys do manage to check out this film, waste your time and money like me, start contemplating the existence of life, and if you really enjoy movies anymore, comment down below, let me know. As always, like, comment, subscribe, join the channel down below. More reviews, more of that stuff. I will see you in the next one. Peace!